Hey, everybody. Thank you for stopping by Roots and Reason podcast. I'm Preston. And hey, just want to do a quick video. I'll probably be a little bit rambling because we're having tariff tantrums. And since, well, I don't know, Thursday evening, certainly Friday, Monday, markets were in a tailspin, man. They just crashed. They started to kind of stabilize. And then all of a sudden, Trump, being Trump, gets on True Social, doubles down, triples down, down goes the markets. I tell you what, sometimes the guy's his own worst enemy. We're going to talk a little bit about tariffs, but kind of in a bigger sense, why Trump is kind of doing this. And if you're familiar with Scott Bessent, our new Treasury Secretary, he's, regardless of what you think of the Trump administration, Scott Bessent is usually pretty well respected, darn sharp guy. Um, he's not entirely a like Yellen, who is more of an academic theory crafter, particularly in labor markets. So there's a little bit more real world kind of experience here that hopefully we'll be able to apply. Um, so anyway, there's a reason they are doing this, and let me just go ahead and share my screen over here. I'm going to hop right in and let's talk about this. Okay. So as you can see, here's the charts. There you go. There was Monday. Going back on Friday. Yikes. Oh man, tariffs are for real. What? Monday comes around? No. And crash. We've since kind of getting a little bit of a bounce, but I mean it's broad based. It's everywhere. I mean, nothing was spared. It hit everything. We could look at the VIX, which strangely hasn't hit, which is a volatility index, hasn't quite hit as bad as everywhere else. Walmart chugging along, but even Walmart took a hit. Even things like gold and silver. Now, silver's had an amazing year this year, or gold's having an amazing year this year. Well, so silver, but everybody took it on the chin. Okay. Well, kind of get to the ballpark of this. What we are looking at is there's a bigger reason why Trump is really pushing the tariffs. Two things. One, personally, I think it's bluster. I think it's just Trump being a troll. If it's one thing Trump supporters seem to really appreciate, um, it's his bellicose, stick it in your eye, kind of just over the top Trumpism. But what I think a lot of Trump supporters like even more is the response of people on the left. And it's not quite as bad amongst, I don't know, maybe your classical liberals, middle of the road types, but the further you go to the left, the greater the TDS. And yes, Trump derangement syndrome is an absolute real thing. Why do you think there was lock her up? Chanted that, everybody went nuts, the crowd goes wild. He gets called every mustache man from the past, scary guy. Everything in the book. He gets elected in 2016. Did he lock her up? No. What did he? Bygones speak about. We got bigger things to do. Forget about all that. Same thing. Make Canada the 51st state. It's a troll, man. You guys are getting taken for a ride. Same thing with, running for a third term. His supporters, as well as probably himself. I know deep down somewhere he's got this just twisted sense of humor and he's just loving it. It's not that any of these things are going to happen. It's that he loves to see people go apoplectic because while they're just so freaked out over it, he's going from thing to thing to thing, and nobody has time to actually focus on it. If one thing Trump does understand, it's how to use the media space and the short attention spans of Americans to his advantage. And by golly, the man is doing it. Love him or hate him, that's on you. But in regards to the tariff, I honestly truly think that a lot of the tariff stuff is just yet another troll. Not entirely. Trump's been talking about tariffs since back in the 90s, back when he was, yes, Trump was a Democrat most of his life. He was talking about it on the Oprah Winfrey show back in the 90s, for Pete's sakes. What was his thing? Section 47 or whatever the paper was in 2023, I think December, something like that. He outlined his whole plan, what he planned to do. He talked about it the entire time during the campaign. Um, Now he says he's going to, hope to remove income tax and instead use tariffs. Well, now we're getting into the realm of, I think, let's not get over our skis on this one. I think this is where the reality is not meeting the road. But okay, what kind of truth is there to the tariffs? Tariffs can certainly be applied surgically. Um, I mean, there is a case to be made for it. There are cases where there are many countries that are tariffing us. If they're so horrible, why so many people doing it to the United States? I mean, after all, last Friday we heard, if you went out there on X or Twitter, and you would find that all of a sudden, out of the blue, there were thousands, tens of thousands of experts on tariffs. Don't know where they've been. Apparently, they were come from pixie dust overnight. And hey, everybody's a tariff champion. Of course, on the other side of that, we have Nancy Pelosi, and she came out pretty strong on this one. Trump administration's. Let me go ahead and share this. There we go. And this is on Nancy Pelosi. This is her actual government website. The Trump administration's flagrant ineptitude is tanking our economy in a self inflicted disaster that leaves hardworking American families bearing the brunt of the pain. Make no mistake, President Trump's senseless tariffs will drive prices higher, drain retirement savings, and push us to the brink of recession. Ooh. And then she goes on to put out, well, it was the Smoot Hawley tariffs, and boy, I've been hearing this one in 1930, that caused the Great Depression. That's a flat out lie. Great Depression was well underway before this ever came to be. But okay, let's give her the credit of the doubt. Nancy, she's kind of old. She's getting a little bit like, you know, Joe Biden-ish, starting to get a little thin there, or Mitch McConnell, zoning out. Well, the thing is, if we go back in time a little bit, let's go check this one out. And I'm not going to go ahead and share this video in order to keep it short, but this is all over the internet today, and it's hilarious. Go out there and just type Nancy Pelosi U.S. trade deficit with China 1996 on tariffs. Here's Nancy, a young Nancy, somewhere like 50, 55 years old, and going on with this beautiful, impassioned speech about how wonderful tariffs are, how good they are, how are necessary to prevent us from being taken advantage of by, guess who? China. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, I'm telling you, it's too much fun. But anyway, let's get back to this. Why is this kind of stuff he taking this? If you listen to Scott Besnett's interview on Tucker, he kind of lays out his plan. Can tariffs be beneficial? Yes. Is it going to fix our woes? Absolutely not. But there's a big imbalance that are in our financial system. And I'm going to bring up this one really quick. And this is from December of 2023. And this is coming from the Atlantic Council. The financialization of the U.S. economy has increased economic fragility, financial deregulation, and innovation growth interrupted by financial crises. And here's the problem. there's a widening gap between finance and the economy. Kind of like Saudi Arabia is with oil, the single resource. When you have a single resource, your whole life depends on what that resource is doing. Oil's up, the Saudis are happy. Oil's down, they're not too happy. Okay, let's go check this out. There's countless articles on this. This one's from the Washington Center of Equitable Growth. The rising financialization of the U.S. economy harms workers, their families, and threatening a strong recovery. So, kind of the argument that Trump is making today, as well as the argument that Nancy Pelosi made in 96, not to mention the likes of Bernie Sanders. I mean, countless people before have made this very argument that tariffs were one way to kind of help combat the fact that in the United States, our sole commodity is debt that we export. We no longer export really cars a whole lot. You don't see the Russians or the Chinese or the Europeans lining up to buy Chevys and Fords. No, 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 no. They don't want them. We're not exporting that many goods. That's why there's this huge trade imbalance. It's why we import so much more than we export. Either they don't want our stuff, they can't afford our stuff, whatever, a variety of reasons. Maybe it's too expensive for them because of the tariffs that they have, and it's making an unfair advantage for us. It's all part of it. But the United States, make no doubt, is everything is centered around basically Wall Street. Everything's in bonds, equity, stocks, the markets. This is it. Your 401k is now used to be held in a pension, which in some cases ended up back in the market or the bonds. But literally everything is in the markets. Now, the problem with this is the statistic I read this morning was the top 10% of wealth earners in the United States happen to own 93% of the equity in markets. Now, the next 6 or so percent are owned by the next 40% of people. So in the top 50%, you basically have 99% of the entire markets. The bottom 50% of Americans, you think of the population of this country, are sharing either 1% or less, and the majority of them have nothing except debt. Well, that's kind of a bit of a problem. And let me go back to this page here. Now granted, this article was written back in January 2015, but it still holds true. 9 charts. And when we look at it, the cost of inequity to the middle class households, and this is kind of the theme of this. We look at the first chart, United States middle class, $17,867 less income in 2007 because of growth in inequity since 1979. There's a gap growing there. The next chart is worker pays. Now this one's really one that gets me. If you look throughout our whole history, I mean, this is the baby boomer generation, guys. You want to know why the baby boomers are doing so good? Because wages kept up with productivity. They were equal. What happened in 1972? There was a decoupling. This is kind of when we went fully fiat, came off the gold system, and we allowed our currency to free float, and then we started exporting debt. Now we ended up with a crocodile, and wages just are not keeping up. Now, to be fair, since the 2020, the virus of unknown origin, there has absolutely been an improvement in hourly wages, but it's still nowhere near being able to catch up with the amount of productivity and cost of living. And essentially, this is basically what this is. And I mean, go Google it yourself. This one came from epi.org, but there's countless charts of this nature going on. We're looking at everything from household wages, price of homes, college students. I mean, when we look at the wages of college students, it's looking pretty grim out there, and so on and so forth. Healthcare is declining. And again, there's an inequality, an unequal distribution of wealth. So this is exactly what Scott Bessent and Trump is trying to get at. Now, I don't think tariffs are going to be enough to do it. I just we're too far along down the road. And of course, don't take my word for it too. If you want to see it for your own eyes, there's a bunch of these channels out here on YouTube, and I absolutely love them. This one is called something like was it Joe and Nick's Road Trip. This young couple did something like 24,000 miles. You can see some of their back and forth across the country. Unreal, man. I mean, you want to talk about a heck of a trip. 50 states, part one, 24,000 miles driven, 50 state capitals visited. Okay, they've been around. If you notice, just look at the thumbnails. It's not just your Gary, Indianas. It's not just Toledo and Cleveland and Pittsburgh. It's the Rust Belt. And then when you get out into the places like Middle Illinois, Kansas, Iowa, all those family farms, gone. Ghost towns, Oklahoma, just Texas. Oh man, Arkansas. Um, it's sad. And a lot of these places, they had like peak population back in 1980, 1960, a couple of them dating even prior to that, so they've been a slow burn down for a while. But a lot of this really started to pick up in 1980. I've noticed this common theme because I've watched a bunch of these. So there it is, Don't have to believe me. You can trust your own lying eyes. Just look what's happening to the center of this country. And as a disclaimer, I am a deplorable. I'm one of these people. I'm blue collar. I'm a son of steel workers, aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa. These people either worked in one form of mill or whatever. This is kind of the roots of where I come from. Let me get back to this. And okay. So we can, most of us can at least agree that there is a great deal of inequity in the country, and it's growing. It's not getting better, it's been getting worse. We deplorables, all of us people in the middle, we've all known it for years. Rather you're a customer service at Verizon, you're a clerk down at the Walmart or the dollar store, you're an electrician trying to put some wire together somewhere, although a lot of the trades are doing much better these days. But uh, you kind of have to go move to where these jobs are. It's very specific. As we saw, there's a lot of dying towns. Certain metros seem to do better than others. So you're almost kind of forced to become an economic migrant within your own country. Um, Everybody's putting the kibosh on work at home. And all of a sudden, that's the boogeyman all of a sudden. Personally, I think work at home can be done well. Um, it's a matter of engagement with the company. Some do it well, some don't do it at all, and it's terrible. But anyway, there is a problem of inequity, and there absolutely needs to be a rebalancing of our economy for the people. Now, is manufacturing because of tariffs or anything coming back? No. The 1950s, forget it. They're gone, man. The 60s ain't coming back. Ironically, since the virus of unknown origin, it laid bare a couple of things. Strangely enough, manufacturing's actually higher now than it has been in a good long while. The problem is technology itself is a deflationary thing. As technology moves forward, it takes less people to do things because now we got robots and machines and computer programs. It requires less energy to do a given task. So the overhead for all of this stuff gets smaller and smaller as time marches on. There's already tons of Toyotas, Nissans, and Kias, and Kenmores and stuff being built here in the United States by companies that maybe in Germany or wherever, Japan, that they put their factories here in the United States. So we have a lot more factories than we did just 10 years ago. Just ain't no people in them hardly anymore. The people that are there are a handful of technicians to make sure that the robots are all going right. That's just the fact, man. I mean, that's just reality. There's nothing we can do about that. I don't know. We'll have a discussion someday down the road. What is the end result of this? Something like universal basic income? What do people have to do in order to earn a decent wage to be competitive with countries outside the United States? For another day. But to give you an idea just how bad it is, the United States military start stepping into this. Now we've heard for the past 2-3 years, oh, the Ruskies, man, they're almost done. They're washed up. Man, they're stealing the chips out of washing machines just so they can build their tanks. Hogwash. It's a bunch of horse hockey. Finally, the New York Times actually had a really interesting piece this week, or excuse me, last week, that just put out that, hey, the United States and Europe combined is getting outproduced by Russia 4-1. We're not talking about tanks and F-35s, F-22s, anything like. No, 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 no. We're talking about artillery shells, 155 millimeter artillery shells. Stick it in a barrel, throw some gunpowder, boom, away it goes. They're outproducing us 4-1. And the military looked back at 2020, and this is when they started to become alarmed, was when the virus of unknown origin showed up. We didn't have enough respirators. We couldn't make enough, the N95 masks. A lot of our pharmaceuticals are coming from China. And the United States military's point is, if we end up in a kinetic war with China, are we going to have to say, hey, Xi, time out, bro, love you, love you. Would you sell us a bunch of these chips, before we get the war started? I got to build some stuff. And this freaks the military out. Military ain't happy about it. They're like, okay, there's critical infrastructure we need for just simple national security. Makes sense. And get a load of this, folks. I actually had a tech bro on the West Coast, very sober, straight face, tell me that the United States can't make chips, can't make a CPU, can't make a GPU. Just can't do it, I guess. I don't know. We could put man on the moon. We can drop a bomb down an air shaft in Iraq, but apparently we can't build chips. Maybe we'll have to go rob those Russian washing machines. Don't know. But anyway, let's go take a look at this because I'm going to give you kind of a quick hammer here from Jim Rickards. He's an attorney, done a lot of work for the military. He's an economist. Let's go take a listen to Jim here. We're going to share this tab, transition over. Okay, Jim. Bear with me here, and let's hear what Jim has to say about this.
People, they go, well, tariffs are a sales tax on the American people. That was their statement. So you have a certain good at a certain price, and you put a 20% tariff on it. The price is going to go up 20%. Sales tax on the American people and inflationary. Both of those statements are wrong. Here's why. In a tariff transaction, you have three parties. Could be more, but at least three. You have the producer-exporter in China, Vietnam, et cetera. You have the importer, who's a wholesaler or distributor, and then you have the consumer. So we are going to put 20% tariffs on things. That is going to raise the price, at least initially. Who actually pays the tariff? Well, it's the importer, the person who takes the goods off the ship at the Port of Los Angeles. Has got to write a check to the Treasury for 20% of the value of those goods. But who pays it economically? It is split between the producer and the importer, or it's completely pushed back down the supply chain to the producer. So the importer says, hey, I just paid 20% more. You need to lower your price 20%. So that when you, or whatever the number is, so that when you throw on the tariff, it comes out about the same. or the importer will eat it in the form of reduced margins or profits. The original exporter, the producer, will eat it in terms of reduced profits or margins. The one party that does not eat the tariff is the consumer. There is no price increase. And why is that? Well, first of all, that's what the economic data shows. But more to the point, if Walmart or Costco or Target or Best Buy could raise prices 20%, why wouldn't they just do it? I mean, why do you need tariffs to do that? Of course you want to raise prices. The reason they can't is because the consumer can't pay it. The consumer's tapped out. Credit card lines are used up. Mortgage rates have been high.
Okay. Now, real quick, as he's pointing out here, why are they already doing it? Because the consumer's tapped out. Now, one of the arguments that I always hear is, well, wait a minute, the money that comes in for tariffs is going to be able to offset the rise in prices. Now, if wages were to increase at the same rate, roughly the what inflation is, then you're good to go. You're going to pay more for eggs, sure, but you're also making $5 an hour more, so it's a wash. Now, in the case of tariffs paying for things, it's kind of hard to say because really there's only a handful of countries that really are importing enough that actually makes a difference, and that's China, Vietnam, Taiwan, Malaysia, India, um, as far as any kind of consumer products go. So, is there enough there to offset in tariffs? Don't know. I don't think so, but anyway, let's hear what he has to say.
Hiring is dried up. There are a lot of, and inflation generally, we're still, the thing about the Biden inflation, they say, well, inflation went down from, it was 9.1% in June 2022. It's about 3% today, give or take. It's bounced around a little bit. They say, well, inflation has come down. Yeah, but the 9% never went away. That 9% increase is still there. The 3% increase is still there. Prices are still going up. But when the financial television talking heads say, inflation is coming down, people think prices are coming down. Prices aren't coming down. Inflation is going up at a slower level, but it's still going up. And we're building on top of the 9% that we had in 2022, which was the highest since the early 1980s. So given all those price increases, which are now embedded, and the other headwinds I described, people can't afford to pay higher prices. Like I say, if they could, they would have been charged that already. So in other words, the tariff does not fall on the consumer. It falls on the producer or the importer, or it's split between them in some fashion. So the idea that it's inflationary is not true, and the idea that it is a sales tax on consumers is not true. It could affect margins further up the supply chain, but not at the consumer level. But what else do tariffs do? You basically create a wall. You create high-paying jobs in the United States. Trump has said to everyone, China, Malaysia, Vietnam, I don't know, I'm picking on them, could be French wine, well, not French wine, it's not a good example, but German manufacturers, et cetera, said, hey, you can sell whatever you want to the American people, no problem, but build it here. Put your plant in the United States.
Okay. And this goes back to my point of technology by itself is deflationary because a lot of these places already do have factories in the United States. They are building things here in this country, but it hasn't fixed the economy. It has improved. Maybe there's enough to do that. Perhaps there's an argument there to be made. Um, you can argue with me perhaps in the comment section of this. I'm not convinced that the tariffs are kind of the end all to be all. And to be quite honest with you, you look at the tariffs, the list that was touted out in front of the media and everything, that whole big deal. There are places like Singapore that didn't have a tariff on us. So why are they getting charged 10%? We've had people look at the formula. The formula is kind of dodgy at best. Uh, there's an island, doesn't even have people on it. It's a bunch of penguins. The Arctic. To me, this is all clear indicators that it's a troll, to be quite honest. Now, is Trump serious about putting tariffs on China and Malaysia? And yes, I think they are. There's an intention to be specific. Those other countries that are trading with us and even friends in Canada and other places. Um, these are all deals that could be hashed out. I mean, isn't that kind of Trump's deal? Mr. Deal Maker. And I think that's now. Don't get me wrong. Here's another thing I disagree with Trump on. I don't like the idea of using coercion. If you want to make a friends down at the bar while you're shooting pool or something, you don't go down there on a Saturday night with a baseball bat with barbed wire wrapped around it and going, "All right, be my friend or else." You go down there and you buy some dude a beer watching the same football game. Go Vols. Um, there's a way to do this cooperatively, and maybe there's a little bit of hippie inside of me that wants a little kumbaya, but trying to strong arm everything in the world. Look, I get it plays to the Trump base, and all the Trump fans love that. Um, I'm not a big fan of bellicose, loud talkers trying to make a point by twisting somebody's arm. I think that's a poor way of doing things. That's not diplomacy as I would understand it. Perhaps, maybe that's what's required. Again, go to the comment section. Let me know how you feel about that. There's absolutely an argument to be made for it. I might argue with you, but I can see the point of that. But the whole point of the Trump thing and Scott Bessent is to try to bring some sort of balance. What does that balance look like in the long run? Don't know. Are tariffs going to solve everything? No. We still got debt to GDP between now, maybe 5 years, 10 years now. We're going to see, if we're lucky, 3 to 4 years. We'll start seeing decent improvement, but I don't see nothing but chaos for the next year or two. Between now and before we get to the end of that, there are still a bunch of companies that are on the stock market that have to do things like pay their operating costs. They got to pay employees. They got to spend money on inventory. And with Trump kind of coming out there dropping these bombs on this kind of stuff, markets they don't like uncertainty and chaos. It creates volatility. And while it can all be fun and games, and again, for most blue collar folks that are punching the 9 to 5 or not in the markets, that doesn't even affect them in that way. It does in a roundabout sense. The company you're working for may be tied to this or one of the bank that's on the market. That's the problem. 2008 started out as a housing crisis, subprime loans. Yes, there was a bunch of greedy people out there making creative financial instruments, offloading this stuff on and it exploded. And when it exploded, it didn't stay in the housing market. It bled over into the real economy. Goodbye, Lehman. Remember AIG? Everybody in the government's over there going, "Oh, Mr. Warren Buffett. Oh, Mr. Buffett, please give us some cash, man. Help us out, brother." Which, ironically, I don't know if you saw Warren Buffett's thing today, but the old boy's up good. They could call him an old boomer all they want, but man, his radar for stuff is gotta hand it to him. Way to go there, oh Warren. But anyway, I say take a deep breath. Um, for those of you people that are Republicans or on the right, enjoy the troll. Join the Trump fans with it. Have a little bit of fun with it. Watch the people on the left, their heads explode as they go apoplectic over just every fishing expedition that Trump does. At the same time, the people that are most upset, of course, are the ones that are most highly invested. All of the people that are participating in the creation and maintenance of wealth inequality that's out there, that haven't really done a whole lot to help out mom and pa cattle out here in the middle of America. These are the people that want to outsource their workforce or have AI, answer the phone or call you at home to do a sales call. Hey, buy XYZ product. Call customer service and get to talk to some AI bot. Doesn't that make you feel warm and fuzzy inside? Not only is your livelihood getting outsourced to another country who's making the profit out of this deal, other than a handful of other folks that can't even bother to talk to even one of my fellow citizens. Makes you feel good, don't it? So if you want to fight a war, middle America, working class folks, wage the war with your wallet. keep your money local, keep it on places that kind of gonna help your brothers and sisters out. That's going to benefit your family in some way. If you can kind of see some kind of a direct connection to it, I canceled my Amazon because while I believe it or not, as much as on one hand you kind of find him cringe, Jeff Bezos is part of the, he's part of the Pareto principle. I got to hand it to the guy. He worked like 18 hours a day, he slept in his garage floor. He made himself. I don't fault him for being a gazillionaire. I do kind of fault him for being a gazillionaire and then treating everybody under him like peasants. It's like, come on, dude. There's only so much money that you need, and the rest is for showing off. And okay, nothing I can say or do can really make it matter, but I can cancel my subscription and stop buying from it, which is mostly just trinkets made in China anyway, little baubles and tinkers, toys, and just I don't need it. I can't escape it entirely, and neither can you. But we can do things to kind of spend our money for the betterment of each other. And so take a deep breath. Don't get in a twist. Go with the flow. Um, I don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks. Enjoy, have a little bit of fun, watch folks' heads explode. But at the same time, learn to cut coupons. Learn to squeeze a quarter till the eagle screams. You better learn how to cook beans and rice and live on the thin, um, because there's going to be a lot of economic uncertainty for the next 2 years, in my opinion. I hope not, but I just don't see any real way out of it. Not Trump's tariffs and not a lot of mythical, magical thinking. I get where he wants to go, kind of agree with the plan, but I'm just not seeing it. And hopefully I'm wrong. But anyway, thank you for stopping by. Be sure to like, subscribe. Be sure to buy us a coffee if you like. Um, I will see you later in the week, and we have some more stuff coming up. So I appreciate you for tuning in. Peace, love, and chicken grease.